So the new 2020 film, The Kid Detective, is the newest mystery thriller dramedy, and it's centered around a young kid detective who his entire life he was able to just instantly tell you exactly who did what, up until one of his good friends who was his assistant, Gracie Gulliver, or whatever her last name was, ended up going missing randomly one day. And then after that, his life and world turned to crap. The entire town just kind of turned on him because he couldn't figure out the biggest mystery of the whole town. And flash forward 20 years later, and we get a very kid-like Adam Brody in the form of an older Abe Applebaum, and I'm just gonna get to the brass tacks. The Kid Detective is hands down one of the greatest films so far of 2020. 2020 has been filled with disaster after disaster, both environmental and everything else. But there are at least two things now in 2020 we can praise to come out of 2020 very well and very great things. And that would be Words on Bathroom Walls a couple months ago, and now The Kid Detective. The Kid Detective tells one central story while combining subplots into it, and it has that as well as a very excellent intro and an origin story as well as a lead up into the mystery, and it just everything meshes perfectly. It is extremely well written, it's funny, and it's downright hilarious at times. The central mystery is actually really well done and really well thought out. Like I said, it just kind of blends everything together. And this is one of those films where you'll go in, or I should say you won't go in, and the first 5 minutes you guess it. It's not like that. When you watch this film, I can say I don't believe you'll be able to figure it out by the end or until the end. But if you rewatch it, I guarantee if you rewatch it, you can be like, oh, okay, yeah, everything still makes sense. They give you piece by piece gradually throughout the film, but it all makes sense and it all adds up. And that's what I love about this film. It's very well directed, very well written. Everything is so well thought out. And even the end, the conclusion of everything, it's so magnificent, and it's also ambiguous. It ends in an ambiguous fashion, and everything still feels all tied up, and everything just feels so settled and happily resolved. And then it still manages to end ambiguously, and I love that about this film. I love how it starts. I love that they gave the main protagonist an origin story. I love how his origin story is affected by the townspeople, his family, his roommate. I love all of the performances in the film. I love the main story of this film. I don't believe there was a single part in this film that was cliche, predictable, or derivative. I think everything was so well thought out. The Kid Detective is simply a damn near flawless film. It's not a detective film where it's an older guy that seeks vengeance and justice and goes blasting everyone. That's not even being a detective. This is a private investigator story, and it's one about an adult guy who's basically trying to rekindle the fire he had and the flame he had from when he was a kid. And he lost that 20 some years ago due to that kidnapping mystery, and it turns out that there's another murder. There's a murder, I should say, that happens 20 years later in the current time, and it was the murder of a high schooler, a boy, and his girlfriend seeks out Abe Applebaum for his expertise, even though he's never figured out murder mysteries, he's never even done them. But he takes on the case, and just to kind of finally feel like he's something again. And it's all so magnificently told. It's magnificently done. There's not a single error that I found in this film. Okay, the performances are astounding. It's well written. It's well directed. There's not a single meander of a second in this film. It's an hour and a half, a brisk hour and a half, no overlength. It's not trimmed down too much or anything. It's all extremely well edited. Everything is simply perfect about this film. I'm sure there are little minor gripes you could throw at it, but honestly, this is one of the best made films that you'll ever watch. So for me personally, The Kid Detective is a 10 out of 10. Thank you.